guys, so we're back with a quick video idea. I wanted to talk about jerkbaits. Well, I have time because it is very hot right now and fishing is kind of dead. So we're going to take a few minutes just to talk about jerkbaits, how to fish jerkbaits, when to use certain colors, in my opinion, sizing, different species, all kinds of stuff like that. So let's get into this. Alright guys, now since we got them all out, we're going to talk about this in sections. Natural, got bright, you've got shiny, and the same goes for that row as well. But I think we're going to start with natural. So to start out, we've got our natural jerkbaits. Pluses of the natural jerkbait: they look like what the food they're supposed to be eating. They get bites way more often, in my opinion. I've gotten more bites on these yellow perch patterns, as most of the fish in here feed on yellow perch, bluegill. As our bait fish in here are yellow perch, bluegill, crappie, sunfish, all the different kinds of panfish like minnows, all that stuff. So if you're looking to fish minnow pattern, got this. I know this was a goby pattern when I first bought it, but oops, I use it as my minnow pattern for my naturals. And then finally we have another perch pattern. This is probably one of the most famous patterns in the Rapala lineup. They put this on just about every Rapala lure I've ever heard of, and those would be my main select choices for my natural jerkbaits. Alright, so on to the shiny jerkbaits. All the shiny jerkbaits all have silver shine on them. I love using these kinds of jerkbaits during the day when it's very sunny and very clear. So when you jerk it, it puts out a massive flash every time, and fish for quite a few yards, probably like 20 or 30 yards, could probably see this thing away. This water here is very clear, but I've got a whole bunch of different ones of these guys. This one, I even got the natural perch, which could be classified as a natural, and a more silver shine jerkbait. So on a day like today, I would throw something like this right now, because in the water, it's going to shine every time you jerk it. It's going to put out a massive shine to attract fish. And that's it for the silver shine jerkbait section. Then you've got neons. I've got more neons in the X-Wrap. These are great for the evening when light level's low and the fish can't see as well. They could see these things from a mile away because literally it looks like a friggin' construction cone. But I have a whole bunch of different ones. I have some UV ones. This one actually glows in the dark, crazy enough. It literally glows in the dark. This one is perfect for walleye fishing at night. And then I have a couple other ones like blue and silver. Can't remember the name of this guy. He's more natural as well. And I also have a clown pattern in the ripstops. A couple algae bone patterns. But that's pretty much it for my neon jerkbaits that I'll fish throughout the evening. So on to when you should use these guys. So on a day like today, you can clearly see that it is blue, it is clear, it is sunny, and it is very hot right now. It's about 28 degrees where I am today, and it is hot. So on a day like today, at this very moment, I would pick this jerkbait because the silver flash and the natural, because these fish are going to be able to see this thing very clearly. So when they get up close to it, when they look at this, when you jerk it, pause. Fish is going to sit beside it and look at it. It's going to inspect this thing, and it looks like a yellow perch, doesn't it? It does. So when they see this, and you jerk it once more, they're going to hit it because they want something natural, and I want something natural to boost my chances of getting a fish in this clear time of day. This is one of the patterns I would use. Another pattern I'd use would be the Megabass Ito Wakasagi Megabass Vision 110. This is a bit more pricey, but also a wonderful naturally patterned jerkbait with silver flash. The silver flash is the most important part of the jerkbait on a day like today, because every time you jerk this thing, it's going to flash. Every time you do it, it's going to flash in the water. And that's why today I actually have a smaller silver flash jerkbait. This is also a natural pattern. I would classify it as natural, but it's got that big, beautiful silver flash. It'll flash in the water. Another tip for a very clear day like today is downsizing lures, because not all fish are going to want these giant full-size jerkbaits. A lot of these big fish are going to want smaller little morsels. I don't even know what to call it. Just a small little meal. That's pretty much what this guy is. So you could use the little ripstop 09s. You could use these little Megabass Stepcats. This is a very rare jerkbait. I'll probably never find another. I don't actually fish it anymore, but it's also a wonderful jerkbait for downsizing if you want to downsize the smaller lures to catch more fish, and also bigger fish sometimes. But a lot of the times you're going to just catch a ton of just tiny fish. Or you could use this little Googan Scout. This is a Scout Jr. in the AU pattern. This is also a great jerkbait for the day on a clear day because it's also got that silver shine. It's also pretty natural in my opinion. That's kind of decidable because it's not totally natural, but still pretty natural. It looks like it's kind of a perch. But that's it for my natural recommendations. So we'll move on to neons. Okay guys, so we're back and we're going to talk about neons. So we got my neon jerkbait right here. When do I use my neon jerkbait? I use it at night when the light levels are low and I want fish to see it in the dark. Both that pattern, this pattern, and this pattern are wonderful patterns at night. When the light level gets low, and the silver flash wears off on all the other jerkbaits, it's best to switch to neon because they can see the neon better, and they'll also hear the rattles within the jerkbait, like this one. It's got nice good rattles in it. So I'll switch to neons in the evening when light levels start to drop. Now we move on to silvers. So we've got all my silver jerkbaits. This plays a part in naturals as well, but these are mostly silver. When do I use my silver jerkbaits? I'll use my silver jerkbaits on a day like today. As I said earlier, they're great in the sun. They have big flash, like you can already see right here above the water, that they have quite a bit of flash. All of them do. These are all Rapala ripstops, but I also have it in egg straps as well. These are great daytime lures to get flash through the water so that fish in the distance can see that flash and go towards it. They kind of like hone into it and just whack it. But that's it for the silvers. There's not a lot to say because I already explained most of it earlier when I was talking about the natural jerkbaits. But we're just going to move on to how to fish these jerkbaits. So as we all know, most of you guys probably know how to fish a jerkbait pretty good. I mean, this video is for people who don't really know how to fish jerkbaits. That's why I'm teaching you guys how to fish jerkbaits. But how do I fish a jerkbait? So, we'll pick up the Megabass 110. How will I fish a Megabass 110? Well, I cast this guy out and you pop it. You go pop, 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 and you pause it. All these jerkbaits are suspending jerkbaits. Suspending means it'll sit in the same part of the water column for an elongated period of time. So the fish will see it go pop, 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 then swim up to it and stare at it. So it suspends. And half the time they'll hit it then, or when you pop it again, they'll kill it then, because it draws a reaction strike out of the fish. This applies to literally every jerkbait I own. The smaller ones I'll work a bit faster most times, but that works for all jerkbaits as well. Just you change the pace of how fast you're swimming your jerkbaits, depending on how the fish are biting. If the fish are biting like more reactive jerkbaits, you speed it up. And if they're not as reactive, you slow it down and you give them tons of time to look and think. But that's normally how I would fish my jerkbaits. But we'll talk about rods, reels, and line in a second here. So moving on to what I use my hardware, like my hardware for my jerkbait fishing. So my main setup, it's a Shimano Bantam, an 8:1 no till, just 8:1 gear ratio on a Megabass Levante jerkbait special rod. This rod is a wonderful rod for jerkbait fishing. It is nowhere near affordable. It cost me just short of $400. But if you're looking for a cheaper but professional level rod, this is the rod you're looking for. This rod weighs virtually nothing. Like, it's as light as a feather. And its sensitivity is beyond your understanding. It is one of the best rods I've ever owned, if not my favorite rod I've ever owned. And it is also absolutely gorgeous. This is a gorgeous rod. It's got all the carbon fiber, ceramics, all the fancy stuff onto this rod. It is a gorgeous rod. But this is my main big jerkbait rod. You can also run smaller jerkbaits on it for more finesse, but I always choose my bigger jerkbaits on it. And that's it for that. Well, actually, before we forget, I'm normally running 30-pound braid to a 15-pound Flourocarbon leader that's about 7 inches long. You could run straight Flourocarbon if you wanted to. I've done that before. It also works great. And you don't have to worry about anything snapping, because you know when you use leader line, there's a whole lot of extra knots that could break when you're fighting a fish. They normally don't, but it did happen earlier today when I lost another one of my jerkbaits to a pike. But I would highly recommend straight Flourocarbon, or exactly what I've got, which is braid to the Flourocarbon leader. It's a great way to finesse fish, because straight braid, you just can't use straight braid, because the fish will literally see the straight braid from a mile away, because it's so, can you see it? You can see it extremely clearly in the water. Well, if you're using Flourocarbon leaders, it makes it so that it doesn't look like it's connecting. The fish don't see the line as much. So that's my bait casting setup for my jerkbaits, but we're gonna move on to my spinning setup. So on to my spinning setup. We've got a Shimano Vanford 4000 XG on a Daiwa Tatula medium light spinning rod with 30-pound braid, 15-pound Flourocarbon leader, exact setup as a bait caster, just on a spinning rod. I use this rod for more finesse jerkbaits, like my smaller jerkbaits like my Stepcat, my ripstop 09s, smaller X-Wraps, any kind of smaller, more finesse jerkbait. Also, the fact fights are 10 times more fun on that combo because the rod is so light. Like, you'll catch a 2 or 3 pound largemouth bass and it's like fighting for your life with the rod because it is so incredibly light. Makes it super fun. Also, that combo is extremely light, like as light as a feather with the Vanford and this Tatula ultralight rod. It weighs almost nothing, probably a quarter of what my old jerkbait rods weighed. But this combo is coming in at $430 for the reel and only $109 for the rod. This is a very cheap rod, personally. Very cheap. But the reel was the mostly pricey part about this combo. The reel was totally worth it. Highly recommend the Vanford. I almost wish I didn't purchase the Bantam, just so I could purchase 2 other Vanfords and just have way more jerkbait setups, because I would go back and buy 3 different variations of that exact Tatula rod and just throw a Vanford on each of them, because I love that combo so much. If you were looking for another professional setup that won't cost you over $1,000, like my Megabass setup costed me about $1,100. That was my Megabass setup. But if you're looking for half that price, but you're looking for super quality, the Vanford is a way to go with the Daiwa Tatula spinning rod. It is the way to go. It is the lightest. It's very sensitive, very, very, very sensitive. It's also super fun because it's light. So if you do catch a big fish, like I once caught a 6-pound northern pike on that combo. It was crazy. The fight was insane. I finally got up to the dock. Me and my buddy just lost our minds because it was such a big fish on such a light rod and small lure. Like, the lure is only about that big. Like, it's a very small lure. But I highly recommend both those combos if you're looking to start jerkbait fishing and have a a good quality, near professional setup. The one's professional and the one's near professional. I could upgrade the rod to a Megabass Levante rod if I wanted to. I just haven't, because I don't want to spend that much money when I already have a rod that works just fine. But we're gonna move on to the next point in the video. Also, another point on when to use jerkbaits. There really is no time you can use jerkbaits. You can use a jerkbait any time of the year, anytime between April and probably into November when ice shows up, around here at least. But you can use them all year long. I use them all year long. I start in April, I end off in mid-November when this place ice is over. But I will use all these all year because they're the most efficient lure in my opinion. They're the most efficient lure you can have. And if you can master a jerkbait, you can catch anything over and over and over again with no problem. I've caught some of the biggest fish I've ever caught on jerkbaits. So if you're looking to catch consistent big fish and have fun fights while doing that, a jerkbait is 100% the way to go. So I highly recommend fishing jerkbaits and learning how to fish jerkbaits. It's very important, and they're a massive part in the industry. They're almost as big as like soft plastics or crankbaits or swim baits or something like that. They're one of the biggest baits out there for variations and types. But I highly recommend buying 4 or 5. Buy 4 or 5, like 1 silver, 1 natural, and 1 neon. Trust me, go for an evening, just fish those 3, and you will have the time of your life catching big fish out on the water, just like I do. But this is the end of the video. I don't have a lot more to say. I mean, I'm not the best at talking, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I'm still brand new to this YouTube stuff, but I try to get the point across. It may not be perfect, I'm sorry about that, but I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you learned something, most importantly, because I've been fishing jerkbaits for almost 20 years now. I've been fishing jerkbaits, and I've used every kind of jerkbait you can think of. I've tried them all. I've had every single one, not every pattern because I don't have $1 million to do that, but I've been fishing jerkbaits for almost 20 years now, and I think I have well enough experience to share it with you guys. So I hope you've learned something from today's video. But if you have, and you've enjoyed the video, of course, don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, support the channel a bit, and also comment your favorite jerkbait. I want to hear jerkbait ideas because I want to use more jerkbaits that I can't find. Like, I'll happily go order some online just to have some fresh new ones because I'm getting bored of having the same jerkbaits over and over again. But yeah, just make sure to comment down below your favorite jerkbait or a recommendation, because I haven't used every jerkbait. Like, there's a lot of Japanese ones I haven't used. Like, I know there's a whole bunch in Japan that I don't have, but like North America wise, I've used almost every kind of jerkbait out there. So if you have any recommendations, I'll go and happily purchase some and use them in our next video. But if you've enjoyed today's video, don't forget to subscribe, like the video, comment, and I will see you all in the next video.